I'm going to start here at the dashboard, but if you haven't already done this, in the dashboard, there is a resource tab here. And if you click that, it takes you to our YouTube channel. So, a lot of what I'm talking about today, there's also recorded webinars and videos there that you can access. And then also we do these live webinars we try to do them almost every week. So I think I have, well, today is the last one I have posted. So I already have them all set up in Zoom. I just got to go in and enter them in the app. So I'll do that after we get out of our meeting, but I already have them all scheduled out into January. So you're welcome to come to any of these. And then I'm also more than willing to do some one-on-one training. So if you guys are getting things set up and tweaking things and need me to just like take a look or to see what you're working on, then absolutely, hit us up. So this little chat tool, if you haven't already tried that, it's pretty good. Like you can type, questions in here, and this goes to Brooke and to Garrett and to myself. So, and we're actually in the process of expanding our team. We're pretty excited about that. So we are in the process of hiring another developer and possibly even another tech support person. So we're growing, and so we appreciate you guys signing up and being with us because it helps us to do better. So anyway, your dashboard is going to give you, so this is basically a snapshot of the job flow board. So you can kind of see like, oh, okay, great. Look, I have, 16 jobs in, pending approval, and they have due dates of next week. So maybe you have set a due date to follow up with them or something. And then you can kind of start seeing, where the different jobs are at this, and if there's bottlenecks, if things are past due. Here, it's my job. So any job that you're associated with is going to show up here, and you can click it and access it. The reason why this is so many pages deep is because this is my demo account. So I'm pretty much associated to every single job. And then if you have things that are scheduled on your calendar, they're going to show up here for today and for this week. Some people really like kind of launching everything off of a dashboard. I know when I use SignTracker at the last sign shop I was at, the ones my kids own now, I basically did everything under the jobs tab. And that was just, for me, that was easier, to kind of launch from there. But there is a calendar in SignTracker. And so anytime you assign a due date to a job or due date to a task, they're going to show up here on the calendar. And if you need to change the due date, obviously you can just drag it, you can drag it and drop them, and it changes. That'll update everything throughout the entire system. You can also just set, and everyone that's has an account has a calendar view. So you can even show like, it's going to have like, if I had, Jane's calendar, Bob's calendar, or whatever, they're going to all show up here, and I can select not to look at them if I don't want to. I can shut them off. But you can just set up regular events in the calendar too. So just like any other calendar, you can click it, you can set up events, you can categorize them, you can make them all day, or you can make them timed events, you can make them repeat events. And then once you submit it, it allows you to actually invite people. As long as they're in the system with an email, you can invite people in the system and outside the system, and it'll send them an email that they've been invited to a calendar event. So it doesn't sync with Google or anything right now, but now that we're hiring another developer, we're going to have time to start working on more integrations and things like that. So, next there's contacts. So with contacts, they're kind of organized in a way that you set the company up first, and then you add people to it. However, if you are syncing with QuickBooks, I would say, sync with QuickBooks first, because all your customers are going to come over from QuickBooks, and then it gives you an opportunity to like merge them. If you already have some customers set up in SignTracker, it'll give you an opportunity to merge them. I will say, once you do sync with QuickBooks, if that's the route you're going, then you'll always add new customers in SignTracker. And the reason why is because once you mark a job as sold in SignTracker, it's going to send that new contact information over to QuickBooks, and then it'll generate the invoice based on the contract that you set up for them. So, but after the initial syncing, that's when all that happens. The one thing about SignTracker's contacts that's pretty cool, like say, for example, I'm going to pull up this group here. Let's say you have like an architectural firm or a school system that you work for, school district, and you might have, you might have 100 jobs or whatever you've done with that particular company, but then you might have 4, 5, 6 different people at that company you work with. So it's gonna tag like the jobs that you did with them. So like this particular contact, Bill, I only have done 1 job at the company with. So, and you do that when you're setting up a job. So that kind of brings us to the jobs tab. So that, and again, this is pretty much.
Sorry, I gave her the wrong email.
No worries. So basically, for me, I did everything.
I know this will probably be an hour or so meeting, so I'll be sure to give her the number.
All right. So for me, like I would come to work in the morning and I would open up the job list view. The job list view, what's nice about that is you can sort all these columns out. If I knew I had to do a lot of work let's say one client had 3 or 4 different jobs and I had to really do some work on them. So I could easily just go, there's I have to do work on this customer's jobs today because I got a bunch of jobs for this customer. And then I can also sort them out by stage too. So I can say, okay, first I'm going to go through the opportunities. I'm going to call them and say, hey, are you going to order this thing or what? And if they say, no, we changed our mind on that, we don't need it. Okay, that's fine. You can just archive it right from here. And then it'll move it to the archive and it's gone. So, and if you want to look at all your archive jobs, you just go browse archives here and they'll all be there. Now, in the job flow board, there will be, there's a column for archives and that'll only show like the last 10. Yes, Jacob.
Question on, I guess, collection accounts. I guess with more volume, you wouldn't want too many overdue bills stacked up on the job board. But I wouldn't want to necessarily archive them either. Can I put another slot on there?
You can. You can. And so actually, once we go to the job flow board, which I'll go there right now, actually, the job flow board is these here, by the way, are just the columns on the job flow board. That's all they are. So if I move something here in the job list, it'll move it on the job flow board. But that's a good question. So the job flow board, and we'll kind of go through all these, you can set these columns up any way you want, whatever works for your workflow. But to answer your question, Jacob, what we did at our shop is that we have this closeout column. And so as you're moving your jobs through the system, blah, 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 this is done, whatever, we're going to slide it into the closeout. So the goal is that all the tasks on the job would be completed. The customer's happy, the sign's been delivered. And so my daughter, who was also did all the bookkeeping and all that stuff, she's an accountant. What she would do is when we had our production meetings and we looked at all of our jobs, any job that was in closeout, she knew that she had the task of doing the final billing. And so what she would do is she would go, okay, and she'd be alerted, she would know like that. Usually we had a task inside the task that said, final invoice. And then whoever moved it to the closeout column would mark that task as due, but what she would do is she would put this big red border around it. And she would put invoice, final invoice sent on 11/17. So she'd go, and it would put this big red square around it. So she would not move it off the job flow board until this was paid in full. And then what she would usually do is make a little note, whatever, but she would be the only one that could move it to archive and should unblock it. And so in this archive column, you're only going to see the last 10 jobs. And then if you want to see all your archive jobs, you go back to the list view and you browse them there. But so hopefully that answers your question, but that's what we did. And that worked just fine. So we never missed, and no one was allowed, no one was allowed to move a job from the closeout stage to archive except for her, because she was the one that would get the check from the customer or the credit card payment or whatever.
My big thing, I don't know how many people default on their payment or per se, but yeah, I just recently made an account account with a debt collector and I'm turning one over to them, I'm technically not even allowed to collect on it now. I don't, I just didn't know if there was another spot I could put unpaid invoices.
Good. You could, for sure. I mean, if you're not syncing with QuickBooks, you can, I mean, if you felt like you really needed an extra, for us, it was like, we knew it was unpaid if she just put it on hold and would write the date, you know, when the final invoice was sent out, then we knew that was unpaid in the closeout. But you can certainly, like, I can come here and go insert column after. So if I click on those three little dots, insert column after, and you could say past due invoice. Okay.
Oh,
And it would basically create another column for you.
Okay?
So you could do that too.
I can hide that column and it would still be, the jobs would still be on it if I hid that column.
Yep. So I just hit it. And if I open it back up there, so like say if I move a job there and I hit it and then I opened it back up, there it is. It's still there. So yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yep, we can do that.
Perfect.
And I can delete the column if I don't need it, you know, so that's how that works. And you can have as many columns as you like. And you can, you know, you can order them in any direction you want to. So like I can drag this over here. I can drag, you know, I can just put my cursor underneath the name and drag it. I can double click on it. I can change the name of it. So the idea behind a job flow board, I loved the visual, right? So a lot of shops have this on a big screen in their shop. And it kind of just shows them like everything that's in these different stages so that people know what to work on. And it also helps you prioritize. So I can say, let's say this job right here, you know, this one, this customer is the best, you know, they always take good care of me. I'm going to bump it up. Or it could be, you know, it could be that this job right here in production is a huge job. It's going to tie up my printer for like a day and a half. And this one's a small job that I can bust out in an hour, get it to the customer and bill them or get paid. So I might put that up there for whatever, you know what I mean? Like, so it gives you the idea behind a job flow board is to give you, you know, the opportunity to prioritize things that are most important to you. Some shops are just hardcore first in, first out. That's fine. You can sort every column by due date, you know, so, and that gives you, you know, you just, hey, we're going to do this by due date and that's how we're going to do it. And, you know, and it also tells you too, like, I can see how many tasks are on the job. We'll get into tasks in a second. I can see how many tasks are in a job. I can see the description. I can add to the description if I just simply click on it. And then I can type in whatever I want. I can add more notes to the description. I can put live links in, like, so say you were using a special material and you had a link to it to a certain website, you can add that there. And if I click it, it'll open up another page and bring you to that site. Same with emails. You know, if you have a subcontractor, you could just click it, it'll launch your email browser and you can send an email to them. So, and it shows you, you know, if there's attachments on a job or if there's notes on a job, you can see all that. So, and we'll go inside of a job here in a minute, but so for us, you know, it depends on how many folks you have at your shop, right? But it's kind of building habits. Even if you're really small, you know, and only have a couple of folks working, like building habits from the beginning is a really, you know, good thing to do. So for us, we religiously had our production meetings after lunch on Mondays, and we would, you know, we'd go through pretty much every job and like look at the tasks, anything that were outstanding or what was holding a job. So say, for example, you know, we had pre-production and we're ready to start making it or ordering it from our subcontractor, but it's on hold because we're waiting for, you know, a permit or whatever. Sometimes on banners, you have to pull permits or if you're doing a channel letter or a cabinet, or maybe, you know, maybe there was a color change and the client signed off on it, paid the deposit, but you had to send a couple of printed samples over or something to the client or whatever, you know, whatever could possibly put something on hold. Like we would talk through all that. and it would give us it would give us a good idea what to prioritize. And it would be a good hour, it depending on how many jobs we had going on, but it'd be a good hour and a half, sometimes 2 hour meeting, which I know sounds like terrible, but if you just do one of those a week, and then that would give us a few hours on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday morning, we had what was called a stand-up meeting. And we would just basically kind of go through hangups, like anything that was just hanging up a job. We tried to keep that meeting to no more than an hour. And then we would give us all day Thursday and all day Friday to finish out the week. So if you're not having production meetings on a regular basis, that might be something to think about. When you start a new job in SignTracker, and you can do that, click this button, new job. The job list view also has, new job. And you can just do it from here too, new job. So basically a customer calls in and says, hey, I want a banner. Okay, this is a simple job, right? It's a banner. Description, we're gonna make a 4x8 banner. And the customer is, we're gonna say Joe's bike shop. We're gonna make a banner for Joe's bike shop. They're already in the system. So all their information is going to automatically come up. Now now in the history on Joe's bike shop and the contacts, you will now see this new job number. And now I'm going to add a person. So let's see, who do we have at this company? We have one person, he's the owner. And then it's a product, and we're going to be kind of enhancing this as soon where you can tag all different types of projects. But in any case, it's a product or a service job. If you guys have different people that manage jobs, other than the person that sold it, or if like a really small shop and you do everything, you sell, you manage, you can even just leave it blank if you want to. Generally, when you're setting up a new job, you might have a due date in mind already, maybe not. And if this is being delivered or installed, you can put down the address here. Just so you don't have to watch me type super slow, I'll just put to be determined. Then I submit it. So now I set this new job up. It's going to timestamp it, who set it up, who created it. And then pretty much you do everything here. So think about this as like your job folder, like a job folder, just an electronic job folder. I'm going to close it for 1 second. And just to show you on the job flow board. So anytime you set up a new job, it's going to show up here on the job flow board, the first position in the first column. The other thing about the job flow board, I should say too, is, and you can search the job flow board. It has collapsible views. You can play around with it. It's got different stuff. But under this gear icon here, you can also, if you want to see like who the sales rep is, who's managing the job, the date the job was created, the full description, all that is. Some sign shops really like that area where I clicked and showed you can look at the description and that pop-up box comes up. Some sign shops have really long descriptions there. And so their job cards get super long, but that's what they want to see. So if you prefer that, if not, it's going to cut it off at like 5 lines but you can click it and, but I'll leave it open. High contrast, it's just a preference, so if you want to look at if you like your cards to look darker, you can do that sort of thing. But anyway, so now you have this job, it's in the first spot of the first column. And so let's click back into it. And again, this is like your electronic job folder, right? So from here, you can still move it from stage to stage. You can still assign a due date. You can still put a job on hold and type in whatever reason you want. It'll put that big red border on the job flow board. You can clone a job. You can delete a job too. And then you start doing things on the job. So first thing is tasks. Tasks are template driven. So if you have multiple people at your shop that do different things, you can create task lists and assign those tasks to different people. Basically you can build templates. And if you go to the YouTube channel, there's a little video you can watch on how to build templates. It's super easy. You can do it from here, or you can do it in the settings. But if you just open up a blank job and just type in new task and type in sell banner, save it, make banner, save it, bill for banner, save it. That's a task list. But and then you basically, once you build it, you just save task template as, you name it, and then it'll save it in your list. And then next time you need to apply a task list to a job, you simply just go task list, banner, there it is. And then you can assign these tasks to people. And if your shop's really small, and there's only like 2 of you or 3 of you, you can actually pre-assign these task templates to people, save them, and then save the template as, like, I could save this as banner with team, for example. So if I'm going to get rid of these. So let's say you always have the same people doing the same thing. You could just go banner with team, and it's going to automatically spit it out with all the tasks pre-assigned to people. So you don't have to go through the exercise of, assigning it. And then you can, you might say, well, hey, this particular task install, we're not installing it, the client's picking it up. I can delete it, and it doesn't affect the template. Once it's applied, you can make whatever changes you want. But what's nice about these tasks is, let's say this project is due on the 26th of November, because surely someone will want something the day after Thanksgiving. And you say, well, okay, if I'm going to get this knocked out on by the 26th, then I need to make sure the client, signs off on this by Friday. And so then you can assign it to Joe, and you can write notes on it if you want to on the task. So now on the job flow board, it's going to show that, like I'll check that one as done just to show you. Like if I go back to the job flow board, you're going to see that there's 4 tasks in this job and 1's completed. But what's really cool is I would go here and I would go job tasks. So I'm on a Mac. If I hit the command key, it will open up a new browser window. If you're on a PC, I want to say it's the control key. But so if I go command, open up a new task, a new browser window, I can look at every single task on every single job that's assigned to me. And I can look at, I could say, I want to see just Joe's tasks. I want to see that are scheduled anytime or just today. And if you're using this and every job has a bunch of tasks and they're all assigned to the dates and all that, this was great. Like I would come in here every day and I'd go to my job list, and I could easily search through jobs, and then I'd have my tasks open and I'd know everything I had to do in the course of a day. And it was just great, and I could look at tasks that had any status, all this, whatever, and I could see everything that I had to do. And if for some reason this one was running behind because the client, I followed up on the bid and the particular client wasn't ready to sign off yet, that's okay. I could say it's still in progress and I'll just bump the date out and I'll say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and call them, at the beginning of the month, next month, and follow up. So you can do that here, and it'll change the due date inside the job. It'll change the due date on the calendar. So, but I love tasks. And if you're looking at, if you want to see, what all the employees have assigned to them, what progress they're making, you can select that. If you want to see, every open task on every open job, you can select that. So anyway, and it would be, also when it comes to tasks, one area in the app that we're really thinking about a lot, and how can we even do a better job helping you guys keep track of the individual things that have to be done by each person at the shop. So if you start using this, you could say, hey, this is perfect. It's exactly what we needed. Or, hey, if it did this or whatever, would love to get your feedback on the tasks, because that's an area going into next year that we really want, especially as hiring another developer, that we really want to try to make even more useful if it's not already useful enough for you. So anyway, just your input is important. So that's the tasks, and like I said, that's where it shows up on the job flow board. So let's go back to our one job that we're working on. Notes, pretty self-explanatory. Again, if I make a note here and save it, it's going to also show up on the job flow board. Now you're going to have a little icon that shows that there's an open note in this job. Anybody in the company can make notes on jobs. It will timestamp it. I mean, in a little bit, it says less than a minute, but ultimately that'll turn into like a time and a date. One thing I did, and just a suggestion, I would get, I'm sure you guys do too. You get lots of emails from clients saying, hey, yeah, that extra $20 for doing this is fine, or that color red is perfect, or whatever. I would cut and paste the entire email, including like the little header in the email, so it was timestamped, and I would just, I'd type in like color approval, and I'd paste the whole email and add the note, and I used it like crazy, and it was a great way for me to cover my fanny. So anyway, just a suggestion. Attachments, pretty self-explanatory. You can either drag and drop a bunch of stuff here, or you can upload individual files. There's no limit, and we're not tracking storage right now, so don't feel like oh, I don't want to put a bunch of stuff up. I know it says it on our website that we are, but we're not. We lied. It's a lot of development to build the tools to track that, and storage is so cheap right now. It's just not. It's not like a profit center. Ultimately, we are going to enhance this so that the files, because we know that 10 megs per file can be a little small if you're getting into some large wrap files and stuff. In the meantime, you can put a lot on here, like certainly photos. It's not 10 megs per job or 10 megs per drop. It's just per individual file. So if you have, 25 meg files, you can put them all up here in the same time. But this is great too. Like if you're going out in the field, say if you have to do field surveys and you're going out to take a bunch of pictures, you're doing some wall graphics, or an electric channel letter set or banner up on a building, and you need access to the inside of the space or whatever. You can go out to the field, do your survey, take all your pictures, and then open up SignTracker on your phone. And you have to do it within a browser right now, but you can navigate to this job. It works a little better if you turn your phone horizontally. We are enhancing SignTracker, and you see this UI looks very new compared to some other UI in the app. So slowly but surely, we're working through the entire app and updating the UI so it's more mobile friendly. But if you turn your phone horizontally, you can navigate to a job, and you can just hit this little gray square with your thumb, and it'll go right to the camera, and you can boop, 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 select all the pictures and attach them right here to the job. I was kind of old school when it came to doing surveys too. So I would, in the form section, and in the form section, if you get in there and just play around with it, you'll see there's a ton of different forms in there for surveys and work orders and all kinds of great stuff, helpful stuff. I would just pre-print my survey forms for whatever type of job I was doing, put it on a clipboard, and I'd take a bunch of notes. And I would also take a picture of that and just upload it right to the job. So for me, it eliminated the risk of trying to figure out, especially if I was doing a couple surveys and which picture goes with which job, I would just eliminate all that. And I would never worry about losing my notes, because I would just take a picture of the notes in the field before I get back in my truck, and I would just upload it. So now we kind of get into doing the quoting in SignTracker. So basically the quote worksheets, think about this tab as like your file. It's just like a filing cabinet, right? So I can create a new worksheet template from here if I wanted to, and then do a quote, but it's just easier to go to the contract section. So a customer calls in, we're doing a 4x8 banner. I'm going to go new contract. I click that, and then I'm going to start adding line items to this worksheet. So I would say, if you haven't already done this, if you go again back to the dashboard and you click into the training videos, there's some really good training videos that are just set up for quoting. And all those, if you haven't been there already, I'll show this to you just really fast. If you go to the dashboard, training videos, click that, it's going to launch our YouTube channel. They're all organized by playlists. So if you look at the sign quoting playlist, there's a webinar where it's just like 20, 30 minutes long, where I just talk about quoting, all of it, like soup to nuts, and then and then there's shorter videos on the actual setup. So it's really, I think that's really helpful. And then I always encourage people, like if you get to a point where you're setting up some quoting templates and adding your materials and all that stuff, and you want a little coaching, reach out to us on the chat tool. Brooke's really good about setting up. She has my schedule, so she can set up a training session with you guys anytime. but basically the quoting's template driven. So it's very flexible. So it really just depends on how you like to quote. If you, if you like quoting with just formula pricing being, yeah, I charge my customer $10 a square foot, or, maybe you like to break things out in real detail with materials and labor, and then put a specific markup on it. That's fine too. You can do both kinds of quoting, and you can actually do both kinds of quoting and put it on one contract. So it's pretty flexible. So basically, there's a couple different ways to add a line item to a quote worksheet. One is you go new line item. And all this does, you'll see this in the setup. If you watch those videos, there's templates. You build these templates. So all this one does is give you a blank quoting sheet. And it's basically a copy of your master template. You can add whatever material, formula item, labor item. You can put whatever markup. You can change the markup. I mean, you can delete a category if you want to. It won't hurt the master template. Anything you do inside of a job, it won't hurt it. So, and then you can add your taxes and blah, blah, blah. And you can write a description. I am making you the coolest banner in town, blah, blah, blah. You can name this template and then save it. And that's fine. That's great. I think if you're doing like a real custom sort of project, or let's say you're ordering a banner from a wholesaler and another person's coming to pick it up and installing it. Well, you get two quotes, right? You get a quote for the guy making it. You get a quote for the guy installing it. You put your markup on it. You write a description in, bam. But if you're making it yourself, this is where you want to build these product templates out. So you can build templates for anything. You can build them for banners and channel letters, flat cutouts, whatever. And then you basically, have these product templates that it just makes it really easy. So I can say, okay, I know I'm quoting a 4x8 banner. I select that template. It's already built out, and maybe you want to add a little bit of design time, production, because you had to clean up their logo. And it took you 1.5 hours or whatever. And so each of these, and you'll see this in the video and in the master template. So these are item categories, and you select what you want to show up in the drop-down menu. And then you decide what you want your markup to be on those particular things. So for materials, I always recommend you enter your materials into SignTracker, what you pay from your supplier. And then you just put whatever markup is that you need to make on those materials. Also, inside the setup, you'll see this in the video, but when you start setting up your materials, you can also put a markup inside each individual material. And the reason why we did that is because a lot of sign shops said, well, hey, if I get let's say they do, monument signs, and they have power supplies, and I buy them for $120 each, and that's fine. That's my cost. But on a substrate, let's say I have a router and I route acrylic or I route aluminum or whatever, and no matter how tight I nest those letters, I'm still going to have drop. So I want to put a 10% markup on all my flat stock just to cover waste. So you can do that with materials, and it's great. And then you can still have your markup, which 50% is probably light, right? So you probably want to be somewhere in the 65% markup range. But and then labor. So we have a bunch of sign shops, when they set their labor up in the setup section, their shops, their operation's pretty simple, right? So they might say, hey, Joe, I have a shop rate of $100 an hour. I have a field rate of $125 an hour. I have a design rate of $75 an hour, and that's it. I have three different rates. Okay. And I'm going to just enter them in what I charge the customer. That's what's kind of cool in SignTracker, is that you can, if you want to set up all your stuff like that as at your retail rate, you can do that. And you don't have to have a markup inside your templates, because whatever this is what I charge the customer. If you are a person that likes to, to figure out what your labor rate really should be, a couple things. One, if you send me an email, which is joe@sign-tracker.com, I'm happy to send you, I have this cool little, it's Excel, but it's a labor rate calculator. So you kind of enter in like all your overhead, your light bill, your rent, your insurances, and all that stuff. And it kind of spits out a labor burden hour rate. So you say, well, okay, for every person that I have working at the shop, if I have to charge, $60 an hour just to break even. And then I want to put my, a 40% markup on top of that. So maybe, that's where I come up with my $100 an hour. Or if that you're making money at $100 an hour, then that's fine. Yes, Jacob, you have a question? You can just spit it out, my friend. You don't even have to raise your hand. It's okay.
Question on the, if you know any way to do it, for stuff that I outsource, I haven't really got to a point where say if I want someone to do t-shirts, I haven't found a real supplier, one person that does t-shirts. Their prices might vary. I've already researched, found out the competitive price and all that. I have a price on basic t-shirts set up already. But being that the price that I pay for it changes, can I put in what I would be charging the customer and it automatically calculates the markup on it, or?
Yep. So basically, let's say, for example, you ordered some t-shirts, right? And you ordered them from, I order my t-shirts from this place in Austin called Kong Printing. Actually, they're great. They do a lot of wholesale work too, if you guys ever decided to use them. But and let's say they're charging me, I know that they charge $8 a shirt or whatever, right? So I would, and I'm getting a dozen shirts. So it's going to cost me $96. So basically what I think I would do in this situation, like you'll see in my master template, and when you watch the videos, I have a section that's called subcontract that I have a 0% markup, because then I could play with it. So we'll just pretend that, that's what this is, right? So I'll put subcontract. You don't have to go. I mean, this will be set up once you set it up yourself. But let's say you have a subcontract section. You ordered these t-shirts from your vendor. They're charging $8 a piece. Your client ordered 12 of them. So now you can put your markup in. You just go like this, and you would just say, I'm going to mark this up 100%. And whoops. And you don't have to have a labor rate checked up. So now it's going to show you, okay, my cost was 96. My markup was 96. I'm going to charge the customer 192.
No, what I meant was, say if I have an idea that people pay $15 a t-shirt here, they order the t-shirts. I already quoted them $15. Now I have to find someone to make the t-shirts. I don't know how much they're going to be charging. So, I mean, is there a way to automatically calculate the markup?
So this automatically calculates the markup based on what you paid, right? So you paid $8. If you tell your client 15 without getting a quote from the vendor first, then your battle is trying to get a vendor to do it for under the $15 so you can make some money. You know what I mean? So I'd probably try to do it this way, where you get a quote first. If you have a vendor that you get a quote, and I mean, okay. Yeah. So that way there you can clearly see. Not that I haven't been guilty of that myself in the past. When I owned my sign shop, there was plenty of times where I said, yeah, I'll get that done for $200. And then I had to go out and find, a banner, someone to print it for 150. So I could at least make $50 or whatever.
Well, I know sometimes I'll have more than one vendor, and I've already kind of guessed the pricing for both of them. But if one of them's busy and has a longer turnaround time, I might go with the other one that day. So sometimes I might even pay more in cost just to meet a deadline or something.
Right. Yeah. So the only thing, I mean, if you've already given the quote to the customer, that's hard. So not that it's terrible, right? Like if you're outsourcing it to somebody and look, they're buying 100 t-shirts at $15 and you get someone to do it for, 10 one day, and the next day, in order to make it happen, you pay 11. Well, at least you still know you make money,
Yeah.
But it's good. I mean, if you can get the quote first and then put your markup on it, obviously that's better, but
Oh yeah.
for sure. But anyway, all right, so let's say we're doing this banner, and you got your price in here, and you can take notes, whatever note, like say you used a vendor to do this, let's say this banner, I don't know if you guys have ever used Georgia Print Co. Don't ask me to spell Georgia Print Co. Georgia Print Co. They're a great company. They do large format printing, wholesale prices, just fantastic. But anyway, I'm going to submit that. So what it does is it creates this line item. And then, you can continuously add more line items. I can add, I could add some flat cutout letters. I could add some MDO boards or whatever. And then I'd have, matter of fact, let's just do that really fast. We'll just add, let's see, commercial. We'll just add a couple of coroplast signs, some, whatever, 18 by 26 or whatever this is. We'll just add, we'll change the quantity to two, and then coroplast signs with digital print. Okay. And then we'll save it. So now we added a second line item. So you can kind of see how this works. If you set up these templates for the different product types you have, your quoting could go much faster. The other thing that's kind of cool too is, let's say this banner, this one had pull pockets, but they need another one with grommets. I can come here and I can go add a line item from existing worksheet, and I can clone that banner quote and then make any changes I want, and it'll add another line item. Or now I can also go, let's say you did a floor graphic for somebody or a vehicle wrap or something a month ago, and you say, oh man, I just did one of these cars. I don't want to have to go through, building a whole template out or whatever, or making changes to a template. I'm just going to go to that other job. So I can search for that other job, find that quote that I did, clone it, and it'll just add it to this worksheet. And so once you're done building this out, you can write a note to a client, thank you very much, whatever you want, and then save it. And then it creates a contract. And then the contract is what this is what you send off to the customer for approval. So, and you do that right now by downloading it as a PDF and then attaching it to an email. If I can ask you guys a question, just your opinion, because I was in a production meeting this morning with my development partner, and one of the first things we want to do when we hire a new developer is an approval portal. So would you guys use that? Like say if you could just click a button that sent an email to a client where they could click it, they could view the contract and approve it and sign it and give you a credit card payment, and then also approve a proof. Is that something that you feel like you would use?
That is actually what I was looking for when I came across this.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think we would use it too. I don't really get too much involved with the quotes, but that would be nice because I know that the office will download it, then email it to the client, wait for the client to come back to us, sign it or whatever. So I think that they would use that. I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on our path for sure. It's a huge priority. Matter of fact, as soon as we hire another developer, that's probably going to be the task we put on them. So, but it's hard, it's a big build, and development's expensive. I mean, once we have a new developer on board, then it's fine. It's easy because it's our developer. But I've been asking that question a lot because I just want to make sure if we build it, everyone's going to use it. You know what I mean? But anyway, good. Well, I'm glad. Thank you guys for telling me that. And if you have any suggestions, that's great. Like if you hit us up in this chat support, like, hey, if we did have an approval portal, it would really be nice if it did this, or any feedback you guys can, or any ideas that you might have. Would love to hear that from you. That'd be great. So anyway, once this thing sells, you mark it, once you send it to a customer, you mark it as pending. Once the customer approves it, you mark it as approved. And then what at that point, this is my demo account, so it's not linked, but you're going to get a link that says generate invoice. And then when you click that, it'll allow you to send it over to QuickBooks for invoicing. And again, if Joe's Bike Shop's not set up in QuickBooks, it's going to set up that customer for you, and then it'll generate the invoice for you.
So is that, and that's for QuickBooks Online as well, correct? So it's not just for the desktop?
Every time someone says to me, we use QuickBooks Online, I just want you to know my heart does a little happy dance.
Okay.
Because it's so much easier. The integration is so much easier. It works fine. Like if you use QuickBooks desktop version, it's fine. So, Jacob, if that's what you're using, I don't want to scare you off.
No, I've got the online.
All right, there you go. Yeah. Those idiots that use the desktop version. No, it's just that it's extra steps. You got to download this web connector and a blah. It's just
okay.
It's so much easier. You guys are. That's good.
Okay, so is there any way that you could show us like moving a contract to an invoice in QuickBooks?
No.
Okay.
But if you a couple things, if you've already set it up. And well, let me show you one more thing before I close out of here.
Okay.
This is kind of in the beta version. So again, any feedback would be great, but we just started this too. Now you can generate work orders based on these quotes, and you can send them to different team people, and you can write notes right now, and you can print it. Right now, if you want to save it after you fill it out, after you write notes or whatever, you can just hit your little print icon and then save it as a PDF and then attach it to the job. And then you can name it, you can name it whatever you want. And like if I go save, you can name it blah, blah, blah. Hey, Bob, this is your work order, and then attach it in the job. I know that's not ideal right now, but it's a start, and we wanted to get this going for you guys. So, because a lot of folks have been really asking for a work order based off the contract. So let's just show you really fast. So if you're in the setups, admin, if you go QuickBooks integration, integrate with QuickBooks Online, you click that, it should walk you through the process. But then there should be in here, I think if you go to your little chat tool and type in search for QuickBooks SignTracker with QuickBooks, desktop integration, an overview on QuickBooks invoicing. I don't know if that video, it might be this one, an overview of QuickBooks invoicing. Let's see if that's this still might be the desktop version one. I have a video. If you send me an email, I'll make sure I send you the video, and I'll ask Garrett to make sure he puts it in here too. And I'll get it onto our YouTube channel too. But I do have a video that shows you. But it's pretty easy. You'll like it. And if you get stuck, really honestly, hit us up. Garrett is our QuickBooks expert. He's great at helping. So if you
great, okay. Because I'll tell you right now what's happening is that let me back up. So when you're in contracts and you select to send over to QuickBooks for invoicing, does all of like that hidden information, that sub information, like, it took your, whatever, your grommets and all of your manufacturing stuff and all of that work order stuff into QuickBooks too? Or is it just showing you like that, price per bid line item that the customer sees? It's
what the customer sees.
Oh, what the customer sees. Okay.
Yeah. It's what the customer sees. So if you're in, let's go to any job here. So if you're in a contract quote, this description, that's what the customer sees.
Okay.
So if you go show itemization, because that this kind of all this stuff shows up on the work order, the customer doesn't see that.
Okay.
Yep. So, and play around with it. If you get stuck on anything, call us. If you shoot me an email though, again, it's joe@sign-tracker.com. I'll link that. I'll link that video. I have it, and I'll make sure I'll make sure Garrett puts it in the little chat here too. We should have done that by now, but anyway. But all right, well, guys, that's a wrap. I mean, there's a lot of other little things you can play around with SignTracker. If you have, further questions, I mean, always, feel free to hit us up. Me, Brooke, and Garrett jump on that. And again, we're going to have another person here pretty soon. So there'll be 4 of us that will get to you. We try to be pretty responsive on that. So.
Okay, great.
Well, thank you. And it's nice, nice to meet both of you. Congrats, Jacob, on is this your first first rodeo in the sign business? Are you new to the sign industry?
No, about 20 years ago, I had a graphic design job. I didn't manage it or nothing. So a lot of this is a little new, but it was a small company. So I did deal with the customers a lot, but I'm still learning some more stuff with the industry.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I'm always torn when someone says, I'm just getting in the sign industry. I'll say, hey, look, run for your life. Go get a job at Costco. It's so much easier. But then on the other hand, it's a fun business, right? I mean, you're making cool stuff and for the most part, you're delivering kind of a happy product to people, right? You're helping them. And, I love it. I've been in the sign business for over 20 years now, for sure. Probably closer to 25. So it's given my white beard, but it's a cool business. So, and we're here to help. So we're really happy to be, partnering with you guys. And if you need anything, just let us know.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Take care, guys.
Right.
Thanks
Bye.
a bunch.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Appreciate you guys. Bye. Thanks so much for checking out SignTracker, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on YouTube.